I'd like to review 5 principles that make for a great two-factor code entry experience. The first is the most important principle, which is speed. The code has to arrive very fast. The second is grouping. The 6-digit code should be ideally grouped into 3-digit strings separated with a dash. It just makes it easier to group numbers or to remember them when they're clumped together. The third principle is 1 character per box. So on the entry fields, it's nice where you can see each character going into a box and you can see the total number of boxes or the total number of characters that you need to enter. And the hyphen is automatically separating these boxes, so you know not to enter that, for instance. Connected to this idea is also the idea of autofocus. The cursor should be fixed in that first box on the page so you can just start typing. And the ability should be there to paste. So if you've copied the authentication code, you can paste it and it will automatically populate through all of the boxes. The fourth principle is auto submit. Obviously, when you get to the last character in the last box, it should automatically submit the code for verification. And this means that there's no need to press the enter or submit button. And now I want to put some thoughts on letters. Well, the first would be if you are using an alphanumeric, it makes sense to me that it should auto-capitalize. And this is really nice if you start to type in the code and it will automatically capitalize all the characters so that it matches the capitalized characters on your phone. I suspect that it's a bit overkill to have a combination of capital and lowercase letters and numbers in a quick authentication code. It seems like way too many permutations, to me at least. And so I think the default would be that the code would be sent with the capitals and that the entry box would auto-capitalize. Because I think some people probably worry if they need to match the case and they spend extra time trying to match the case, which is a complete waste of everyone's time around the world. The second point on this is that it's probably useful to remove confusing alphanumeric characters. So some characters that are easily mistook, such as a 0 and an O when they're both capital, look kind of the same, or lowercase l and a 1. You could probably even maybe remove the D, as depending on the font, a D could look like an O or a 0 at quick pass. Sometimes you can also get confusion, of course, between a B and an 8 if the font selection isn't good, and so an uppercase B that is, and so ideally a good font choice and the removing of any characters which remotely could be mistook for each other, just to remove any potential confusion. And I think the last reflection would be, do we actually need letters at all in authentication codes? The alphanumeric is, I find, really annoying to type in on a mobile device because you have to switch between your keyboard types. And it's far preferential if you can just default the keyboard to a number code, a number pad, because you have larger tap pads to use. Now, if the reason that an organization isn't using a 6-digit number code is because it's less secure than an alphanumeric, even though a 6-digit number-only code would have over 1 million permutations, which seems like a lot. And if you are using this as a temporary code on a page which could lock out after too many attempts, it doesn't entirely make sense to me how there could be a security issue. But anyway, I suspect perhaps in some large companies they've looked at it and they need the alphanumeric for security. Nonetheless, if the reason is that a 6-digit number-only code is not secure enough, the security perhaps could be increased by lengthening the length of the number-only code. So would a 9-digit number-only code be secure enough for an organization? And would that be perhaps preferential to a 6-digit alphanumeric code, meaning that it might be faster just to type in 9 digits rather than to have to type in 6 digits and letters? But I think it all depends, of course, on the device type and how people are entering this code. If you're having to memorize the entire code before you type it in, this might be a barrier if you start to lengthen the length of these codes. Anyway, some reflections on two-factor authentication codes. It needs to come quick. Group the letters to make it easier to visually Remember, 1 character per box on the entry screen, auto-submit it when it's completely entered, and then some reflections on capitalization of letters, removing confusing alphanumeric characters which can be confused, and considering in the first place if an alphanumeric code is even required or if it can be a number-only code, because that is likely a preferred user experience. Thank you.